After 17 years of marriage, my wife cheated and left me for her ex. My stepdaughter defended her, saying he was her true love and that she deserved to be with him. In court, I finalized the divorce and gave up my rights as both a husband and a father. Now, my daughter is panicking. Hello, Reddit I plus here. I still remember the day my world collapsed. 17 years of marriage. Vanished in the span of a single confession. I'm leaving you. At first I thought I misheard her. Rebecca, my wife, the woman I built a life with, stood there, arms crossed, lips tight, as if she were the victim in all this. And when she finally said the words that would shatter my reality, I felt something inside me crack. It's Scott. I never stopped loving him. I should have been with him all along. Scott, her ex. The man she once claimed was her biggest mistake. But the real dagger to my heart came not from her, but from my stepdaughter, Lily. I raised her since she was 6, loved her as if she were my own. She was 23 now, old enough to know the difference between love and betrayal, and yet, she stood beside her mother, arms crossed, echoing the same sentiment. Mom deserves to be happy, Dad. Scott is her true love. Dad. She still called me that, as if it meant nothing to her. For weeks I fought for my dignity, trying to understand why my wife had betrayed me and why my daughter had sided with her. But in the end, the answer was simple. They didn't respect me. They didn't love me. I was just a placeholder, a man who provided but was never truly valued. So in court, I made my final move. I signed the divorce papers without a fight. I gave Rebecca everything she wanted, just to be done with her. And then, I did something that made everyone gasp. I relinquished my parental rights to Lily. Rebecca's smug smile vanished. Lily's confidence shattered. What? Lily stammered. You made it clear I was never your real father. So, I won't be. You sided with her. Now you can live with the consequences. Lily turned pale. My lawyer nodded, pushing the papers forward. And just like that, I was no longer her father. Rebecca expected me to fight, to grovel, to beg for another chance. Instead, I left them there, with the choices they had made. At first, Rebecca felt invincible. She had Scott now, the man she claimed she should have been with all along. They moved in together almost immediately, taking everything she got in the divorce and starting their new, perfect life. Lily, still convinced she had done the right thing, stayed by her mother's side. But fairy tales don't exist for people who betray those who loved them. Scott, the man Rebecca threw away her family for, turned out to be nothing like she had imagined. At first, he was charming, affectionate, everything she remembered from their youth. But within months, the cracks began to show. He had no real ambition, no real income. Rebecca was the one paying for everything. The house, the bills, his expenses. And it wasn't long before his sweet words turned into bitter ones. You've gotten old, Rebecca. You're not the woman I remember. The first time he said it, she laughed it off. The second time, it stung. Then came the late nights. The unanswered calls. The rumors. One night, she stayed up waiting for him, only for Scott to stumble in at 3 a.m, reeking of perfume that wasn't hers. When she confronted him, he didn't even try to lie. You really thought this was forever? He scoffed, shaking his head. I never wanted to be tied down. I just wanted to see if we still had something. Turns out we don't. Rebecca's world shattered. This was the man she had thrown away 17 years of marriage for? This was her true love? She begged, pleaded, tried to remind him of the past, but Scott only laughed as he packed his things. You're pathetic, he muttered as he walked out. No wonder your husband never fought for you. And just like that, she was alone. It was in those cold, empty nights that the regret truly set in. She had destroyed everything, her marriage, her security, her dignity, all for a fantasy that never existed. And the worst part? She knew she could never go back. A year had passed, a year since I signed away the life I had built for nearly 2 decades. I told myself I had moved on, that I had healed. But some wounds don't fade. Some scars ache in quiet moments. Like on cold nights when I found myself staring at the empty side of my bed, or when I walked past the old coffee shop where I used to sit with Lily, helping her study for her exams. The pain wasn't about losing Rebecca. She had shown me exactly what kind of person she was. No, the ache came from Lily. From knowing that I had spent 17 years raising a girl who had thrown me away like I was nothing. But I had made my choice. I wasn't her father anymore, and I thought that would be the end of it, until one evening, as I was sitting on my back porch, nursing a glass of whiskey, I heard a knock at the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened it, I froze. Lily. She stood there, shoulders shaking, her eyes rimmed with dark circles as if she hadn't slept in weeks. And behind her, Rebecca, her face hollowed, lips trembling, her hands wringing the fabric of her coat. For the first time since the divorce, neither of them looked sure of themselves. Neither of them carried the confidence of women who had chosen true love over the man who had given them everything. "Please," Lily whispered, her voice barely holding together. "Please, can we talk?" I stared at her, feeling nothing but a slow, heavy emptiness in my chest. "Why?" Rebecca stepped forward, hesitant, her voice cracking. We made a mistake." A cold chuckle escaped me, but it held no warmth, no amusement, just the bitter aftertaste of old heartbreak. "No, Rebecca, you made a choice." Her face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw it. The regret, the realization of what she had done. "Scott left me," she confessed, her voice breaking. "He wasn't who I thought he was. He used me, he cheated on me. And when things got hard, he walked away." I let out a slow breath. How poetic. Lily swallowed hard, her lips trembling. "Dad." That word hit me like a hammer. "You don't get to call me that anymore," I said, my voice steady but firm. Tears streamed down her face. "I was wrong. I was so wrong. I thought Mom was right, that Scott was this great love she had lost, and I thought you'd always be there, no matter what." Her voice broke on that last part. "You thought wrong," I said softly. She sobbed, clutching her arms like she was trying to hold herself together. "Please don't hate me," I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. "I don't hate you, Lily, but I don't owe you anything either." Rebecca wiped at her tears, stepping closer. "Please, we can be a family again. I know I hurt you, but you loved me once. We can fix this." She reached for my hand. I took a step back. "No, Rebecca, you don't get to shatter me and then come back to pick up the pieces when you realize they don't fit anywhere else. You made your choice. Now live with it." Her face twisted in anguish. Lily let out a quiet, choked sob. I shut the door. I stood there for a long moment, listening to their muffled cries outside. Then I walked back to my chair, took a slow sip of my whiskey, and watched the sunset. And for the first time in years, I felt truly, completely free.